Hello, I am Michael Cullen with the Arlington County Department of Community Planning, Housing and Development Planning Division, and this presentation is for the virtual Site Plan Review Committee meeting for the Ames Center project that the county is hosting in lieu of in-person meetings. This presentation is provided for advanced viewing for the virtual SPRC meeting scheduled for September 17th, 2020, and will cover process background information and touch on the SPRC agenda topics for discussion, including the Nash Street cross-section, on-street parking and above-grade parking structure, pedestrian circulation and skywalk removal, proposed elevator overruns above the penthouse, building sustainability, and community benefits for the project, as well as identify the remaining steps in the public review process for the project. We'll begin with recent process information. An in-person site plan review committee meeting was held on February 24th and covered the project introduction, land use and zoning, building architecture, and site design. An online community engagement session was held from July 16th to July 23rd, which focused on review of transportation, open space, construction implementation, and community benefits issues. All comments received during this engagement session were compiled into a matrix document with responses from both county staff and the developer design team, which is available on the project webpage at the link shown here. Moving on to SPRC agenda items. Three primary transportation topics emerged from the online engagement for the Ames project: improved pedestrian routes, bike rentals implemented into Plaza Stairs, and bicycle facilities on North Nash Street. First, the applicant will be addressing the proposed pedestrian paths to Metro. These pathways would be the at-grade alternative to the current skywalk system. There are some proposed infrastructure improvements, including shorter crossings and new crosswalk markings. At this time, no additional signalized crossing is recommended by staff to be delivered with the site plan. Second, county staff is in support of the Ames project to incorporate a bicycle rental in their plaza design. This is in line with what has been approved in previous Roslyn projects, including 1401 Wilson and the Key and Nash residential project. Finally, by far the most comments were in regards to the proposed bicycle facilities for Nash Street. By eliminating parking on one side of the street and reallocating proposed curb-to-curb space, we are able to have a buffered bike lane along the southbound side and a protected bike lane northbound along the Ames site frontage. We are still finalizing a floating bus stop design near the Wilson Boulevard intersection, as well as lane markings at the intersection with Key Boulevard. Prior to the online engagement session, the applicant revised the project to remove one level of above-grade parking and reduce total parking spaces by 76 spaces, resulting in a residential parking ratio shift from approximately 0.8 to 0.7 spaces per unit. Comments received requested clarification on shared parking between commercial uses, and the revised 4.1 plans indicate the applicant proposes to share 39 spaces between retail, commercial office, church, and gas station uses, as well as be utilized for residential visitor parking. Staff no longer identifies parking supply or above-grade parking structure massing as an issue, and we believe the changes are just sufficient enough so that there are no longer a conflict with Roslyn Sector Plan guidance to minimize parking in new developments. County staff requested feedback on the issue of proposed removal of the pedestrian skywalks across Nash Street and Fort Myer Drive. Community responses were overwhelmingly in favor of removal of the skywalks without replacement, noting permanent removal is consistent with long-term sector plan goals and expressing a desire to focus pedestrian activity at the street level. Some comments noted that the cost of replacement to the developer would impact community benefit contributions critical to achieve other county goals, and also that the current skywalk system is not accessible to people with disabilities. There were multiple responses from residents who utilize the skywalks as a connection to Metro. Those comments focus on ensuring safe street-level connections if skywalks are removed, rather than requesting skywalk replacement. The applicant presentation is anticipated to discuss how the project will improve pedestrian paths to Metro, which are shown in the layout at right, as an alternative to the skywalk system. County staff find that the project's delivery of improved pedestrian circulation and an anticipated streetscape contribution that may be used for the Fort Myer Tunnel project, in conjunction with the high number of responses in favor of skywalk removal, suggest that this is no longer an issue as it ultimately fulfills the goals of and recommendations of the sector plan. The applicant recently proposed an additional modification to allow for 13 additional feet above the 23-foot penthouse projection permitted under the zoning ordinance to accommodate elevator overrun structures above the penthouse roofs in both towers. Staff continue to discuss technical information that may clarify the need for this request, as well as identify potential alternatives. However, sector plan guidance raises significant concerns for staff over the proposed elevator overruns, as discussed in the next slide. In addition, online community engagement comments expressed universal concern that the overruns would detract from the building architecture and the viewshed in Roslyn. The applicant has provided images shown at the top of this slide that reflect how the elevator overruns impact views from the Central Place observation deck in accordance with sector plan guidance to provide, quote, simulated illustrations showing the proposed building cap design in its context and as it would be viewed from the public observation deck. The sector plan recognizes the value of the observation deck as approved with the Central Place site plan and calls for special attention to protect and enhance high-priority public observation deck view corridors. The sector plan guidelines go on to say, building tops within view of the public observation deck should be designed so as to create a thoughtful, complementary foreground view for the monumental core and other key vistas, minimizing any adverse visual impact. Sculpting, transparency, and other design strategies to minimize the height and size of penthouses should be considered in order to better preserve views. The project proposes LEED Silver certification with 2 Arlington priority credits achieved for 15% energy savings and Energy Star certification. Staff did discuss ways to improve building efficiency with the applicant, including zero carbon analysis, but found that constraints for buildings 30 and 31 stories in height would disqualify the project from certification, and no further analysis was proposed. The project will provide for a number of standard site plan condition benefits, including installation of wireless emergency responder communication system and utility underground fund, public art fund, and affordable housing contributions. The project would also provide significant sidewalk and pedestrian improvements and address sector plan goals for permanent skywalk removal and construction of a major segment of the 18th Street corridor. We are currently negotiating a community benefits package with the developer that further addresses the goals of this Roslyn sector plan for the provision of on-site affordable housing units, street infrastructure improvements associated with the Fort Myer tunnel removal, and ongoing maintenance of the Central Plaza. And finally, next steps in the process. There are 3 outstanding issues identified by county staff at this time. First, as discussed in this presentation, the proposed elevator overruns conflict with the sector plan guidance pertaining to architectural composition of building towers and caps. It is unclear if there is an alternative that would provide elevator access to the penthouse level without the overruns projecting above the penthouse roof, but significant concerns remain. Second, while the county and the applicant agree on the broad elements of the community benefits package, there's a significant gap between the valuation of each proposal. Finally, although not discussed during the online community engagement session, the proposed loading bay configuration still does not meet county standards, and the county board has raised recent concerns over modifications for required loading spaces and for otherwise deviating from the dimensional standards outlined in the standard site plan conditions. Further discussion of the use of each loading bay and trash removal plans is necessary. Following this virtual SPRC meeting, Planning Commission and County Board consideration of the project is expected this fall, but will be contingent on discussions related to site plan conditions and community benefits. Thank you. That concludes this presentation, and please reach out if there are any questions we may be able to answer.